Beautiful.
This was Fantasy in D minor by Mozart, one of his last works. And now we are going to Mozart Sonata in A major, KV 331.
Is it me? Where Diana?
Can't hear you.
Radhule, I think you're muted.
Yeah, I
Can't hear anything.
You're muted.
Yes.
Can't hear a word you're saying.
Can't hear you, Radley.
You may not be muted, you just may not have the right microphone selected. So down in the left-hand corner, if you click on the little arrow, just make sure it says built-in microphone.
Pull out the microphone.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yep, there you go.
Yep.
All right. Very good. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. And first, thank you, Petra, for this wonderful music. And I just again felt what a deep meditation such music is. So thank you so much for coming, and it's wonderful to spend this evening with you. And you know, we all know that this is a time of great upheaval. And sometimes I feel like falling in slow motion towards an unknown destiny. And that's why we thought it's so important that we have an evening together where we practice heart practices that help us in such times of uncertainty and change, times that are really difficult. And in these times, it's especially difficult to keep our heart open. That's what I have been hearing from my friends, from my family, from my clients. It's a time where there is a sense of danger and fear, and where we want to pull in and shut down, and we are tempted to kind of hunker down like turtles into their shells. And I want to say this is very understandable, and it's important not to blame ourselves for this, because it's a very instinctive, protective response. However, while this can protect us in the short term, it does not serve us and our communities in the long term. Hunkering down, closing down leads to fragmentation, isolation, and it's not good for our relationships and our compassion for other communities of people in our society and this world. Then everybody suffers. And so this evening, we approach the 4th year anniversary of our Solidarity and Compassion project, which we started in December 2016. And again, you know, just as then, we have particularly trying times with fires, pandemic, social unrest, and divergence. And then it's especially important to gentle our hearts and to strengthen our cords of connection with others, with ourselves, with our world, and especially our natural world. I just find the natural world so relieving, so reassuring at this point. And I'm so glad this wonderful group of presenters is joining me tonight again. And I wanted to quickly introduce our panel. And actually, I wanted to introduce one person I'm seeing here who's joining us usually on Sunday mornings, and she's coming from Vienna. And I don't know how she is awake at 3 in the morning in Vienna, but I'm seeing you here, and I want to say hi to you. That's determination, to be there at 3 in the morning in our evening. That warms the heart, and that strengthens the cord between all of us. So there is Petra Persholja, and I want to get 1 second with the right introduction. Petra just received her PhD in music arts from UCSB Santa Barbara, and she is a world acclaimed pianist, and she holds a master's in piano performance from the University of Hawaii, and a bachelor music from New Jersey, and a bachelor from the University Ljubljana, where she's from. And she's now a resident here in Santa Barbara, and we are very lucky that she is with us. And then there is Souken Danjo, our friend, who's coming usually, hi Danjo-san, who's usually coming us to visit every summer for 9 years. And this is the first time in 9 years that he hasn't been able to come here because of COVID. And he's a Zen master, Zen priest in Hiroshima, Japan. And that's where he Skypes from. And it's wonderful to have Angelica from Austria and Danjo-san from Japan. I mean, it kind of spans the whole world. It's really,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. And so usually we co-teach here in Santa Barbara together in the summers, but now you can actually join us every Wednesday for a joint session from 7 to 8 on Zoom. So we are able to teach even more, even though you are not here, unfortunately. Then there is, I'm just going in progression as we present this evening. There's my dear husband, Michael Carney, who's an author and palliative care doctor in town. And he will talk to us about compassion fatigue and how to take care of ourselves in such a time. And that's what he's teaching in Cottage Hospital to doctors, nurses, medical folks. And then there is Teddy Macker, who has been joining us many times before, and he's here again. He is the current principal or director of the Waldorf School and a poet, and he came for many years together with his mentor, Barry Sparks, the former poet laureate. And we are so lucky to have your poetry here again with us. You should look him up. He published a whole bunch of books of poetry. And then there is Amy Salzman. And Amy just moved here from the Bay Area. And she has been known up there through Spirit Walk and Stanford University. And she's a physician, a holistic physician, and a mindfulness teacher and coach, and author of 3 books. And she worked especially with teenagers and parents and teachers to make mindfulness applicable. And so we are so lucky to have her as a speaker and author and teacher new in our community. And I'm really glad that you joined us tonight to be with us, and we can hear you. Thank you so much. And then there is Father Tom Carey. And Father Tom Carey is I hope I get this right now, a diocesan Franciscan priest. Is that right? No? I always.
No, I'm just an Episcopal priest. I'm an Episcopal priest in Los Angeles.
All right, but still a Franciscan, right?
No.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm getting
No.
Your Father Tom, and that's what matters. Thank you for being here with us. And Father Tom works with especially Latinx youth, gay Latinx youth in Los Angeles, in many social enterprises and projects. And it's just wonderful work you do in some of the poorest areas of Los Angeles. And before that, you were an actor and writer in New York, and you come from this acting family. And so we are really glad to have you here to perform and sing and act for us. It's really great to have you here. And I think, let me see. I don't want to. And then there is Miyoko, who sometimes, and maybe today, we don't know yet, will translate for Danjo-san. And I also want to acknowledge Ram, who is the music support and producer and agent of Petra. So I also want to acknowledge all the people who are in the background making this happen, as well as John Skidanov, who does all our advertisement and flyers, and Eden. So much gratitude comes to all of you. And what we are hoping is that in the end of this evening, you might stick around and we have a bit of a discussion together. And the discussion could be, how can we hold these difficult times, and how can hard practices help us to stay steady and open and loving? And how can we strengthen our community? So I hope that we can, continue this evening in that way. And the other thing is, you heard Petra playing. She's just marvelous. I have a dream that we can have a series of just music and meditation with very little words, maybe no words, between mid-October and Christmas, when probably our time goes through a lot of stress, and that we can pull this together, because it's just so good for the body, heart, and soul to be together and hear this beautiful music. Now we want to begin this evening, as we usually do, with some meditation. And the way we are wanting to do it right now is, as we did it before with Petra, that we do a little call and response metta meditation, a loving kindness, compassion meditation, in which music and guided meditation will come in a call and response form. And for this, I invite you to make yourself comfortable and just be with yourself, your feelings, your ears open, your heart open, just being present with whatever comes up. Let yourself feel the sensations in your body. Notice the touch between your body and the chair, the ground, the space within and around you. And kindly feel what's going on in your body. Where there's tightness or constriction, a sense of numbness or ache, lightness or heaviness. And for a moment, feel the whole felt sense of your body. Feel it deeply. And feel the sensations in your face, your heart, your shoulders, your body as a whole. And notice breath brushing through ever so gently. Awareness and breath flowing together. Feeling every instant of the in-breath, every instant of the out-breath. The whole field of body awareness. And for a moment, hold an image of yourself in your mind's eye and feel what is challenging for you right now. For your body, for your heart, for your mind and soul. And allow yourself to be with yourself, to feel deeply for a moment how you're situated right now in yourself, in your close environment, in your community, in your country, in this world. And see what happens when you wish yourself well. You might say silently to yourself, "May I be safe and protected. May I be healthy in body, mind, heart and soul. May I be patient with myself when I feel vulnerable or afraid. May I be gentle with myself in these times. May I live with ease." And again, feel deeply into your body. Let the vibrations of the music reverberate in your body, in your heart. And then bring your attention to those close to you, those that are your loved ones, those who are easy for you to like, to feel affection towards. And wish them well. And you might say silently to yourself, May you be safe from inner and outer dangers. May you be healthy in body, mind, heart, and soul. May you be gentle with yourself when you feel afraid. May you live your life with ease. May you be able to keep your heart open and soft. Then again, feel the reverberations of the music in your body, in your heart. And bring your attention to those other human beings, those you might know and those you don't know, those you like and those you feel neutral about, and maybe even those you find a little bit difficult, those close by, those far away. Those who live alone and those with others. Those that are suffering, that might be ill, that might not have very much. Let's include all in our well-wishing. May all humans be well and protected. May all be loved. And let's include in our well-wishing all beings, humans and other than human beings. animals, creatures, trees, rocks, plants, the earth, the waters, the skies. May we all flow together. May we all support each other. May we all take care of each other. May we all be healthy and free. Danjo-san, would you sing?
We are. Can you listen?
Yeah.
My voice? Okay.
Yeah.
So this started chanting Heart Sutra, and this Heart Sutra, long sutra, but this is a very very short sutra in the mantra. Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhisvaha. This is the Sanskrit. In the long history, 2,500 years ago, Sanskrit word changing slowly, and in Japan, Gate, Gate, Hara Gate, Haraso Gate, Bodhisvaka. This is the Japan. This time is the Sanskrit mantra, the same Buddha's feeling. Okay. Prasangate bodhisvaha Gate ate paragate Prasangate bodhisvaha Gate ate paragate prasangate bodhi svaha. Okay.
Thank you, Danju-san.
Yeah. Thank you.
Very much. Michael, can you unmute yourself? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Thank you. Hi, everybody. So yeah, I'm going to share some images with you as well as some thoughts about compassion fatigue. And then I want to share a little short practice with you in the end. Oh, goodness. Let's see how to get in here. Sorry about this. I thought it was just going to be right there. So yeah, compassion fatigue. I'll say a little bit about this, and as I say, share a short practice with you. I don't have to tell any of you, just about what suffering we're embedded in this country, and indeed in other countries also, but right on our doorstep here in California, Oregon. We have these just devastating fires at the moment, causing so much death and destruction. This is actually an image of the Amazon, where so much of the great Amazon rainforest is destroyed, and every day is being burned and destroyed. This is an image of the tar sands in Alberta, in the boreal forest, in the heart of the boreal forest. So on every side there is so much suffering. On our southern borders, I don't have to remind anybody, and all across the world, what we're living with our pandemic at the moment. And here in the States as well, the social justice movement, but also the great social unrest, and that's not even touching into the political unrest and the kind of undertow of uncertainty and fear that many of us are feeling. So it's as though, whether we like it or not, we're embedded, we're marinating in this field of turmoil and uncertainty and suffering and loss. And it's just too much, and those of us who work in the caring professions, maybe face to face with somebody who's going through great trauma, great suffering. And we feel that. In their presence, we feel their pain, we feel their suffering. So whether it's the macrocosm, whether it's the microcosm of the one-to-one, in the presence of so much suffering, it can be too much to bear. And compassion fatigue arises from our caring for another who is suffering. Compassion fatigue happens within that relationship. Charles Figley, who wrote a lot about compassion fatigue, says that the caregiver's empathy level with the traumatized individual, and that may be the individual, or that may be the kind of, the environment or the societal, the caregiver's empathy level with the traumatized individual plays a significant role in this transmission. So if you like, compassion fatigue comes because of our empathic connection with another who is suffering, makes us vulnerable. And that's why compassion fatigue is sometimes referred to as vicarious traumatization or secondary traumatic stress disorder. Because in being present to another in suffering, in being open-hearted and present, we're at risk of being vicariously traumatized, of being secondarily traumatized. And some of the symptoms of compassion fatigue are the symptoms of PTSD. And over time, they can lead to the symptoms of burnout, the emotional and physical exhaustion, the alienation and detachment, and just the sense of never quite achieving this sort of level or quality of work that you want to achieve, burnout. So, you know, when I'm talking to caregivers in the healthcare setting, I found it useful to talk about 3 approaches to self-care. A practical approach, a psychological approach, and a spiritual approach. And just a few words about each. The practical approach to self-care is sort of the default practice of self-care that most of us do, even without thinking of it as self-care. And that is that we have some sort of boundaries in place. And those of us who work in healthcare, it may be a white coat, it may be a stethoscope around the neck. It may just be our professional persona that acts as a sort of, in a way, a sort of a suit of armor that kind of protects us from the intensity of the suffering that we're present to. And then part of the boundaries is, you know, not watching every bit of news that comes on TV, not constantly checking the news on one's phone, you know, so actually giving one permission to hold boundaries around the information of painful events. So that's the kind of boundary piece. And then the other part of practical self-care is having programs that we know allow us to rest, recover, and relax. You know, real renewal, whatever really helps us to replenish and renew. And so that's the practical approach. And just a few words about the psychological approach. This is what we refer to as self-awareness-based self-care or mindfulness-based self-care. And mindfulness is the cornerstone, that capacity to be able to self-monitor in a situation. That comes through the practice of mindfulness, but also comes through self-knowledge and also self-compassion. So that kind of you know, triumvirate of mindfulness, self-knowledge, and self-compassion allows us to be in the presence of suffering, but because we've cultivated mindfulness and self-knowledge, we can recognize when we're at the point perhaps of being overwhelmed, or it's just too much, where we need to take a step back, or we need to ask somebody else to help out. And so that capacity to self-monitor allows us to make skillful choices in the situation. So that's a word about psychological self-care. But what I really wanted to touch on just a little more deeply is what we might call spiritual self-care. Joan Halifax, Roshi Joan Halifax, Zen Buddhist, who has also done a lot of work around end of life and presence at the end of life. She says, you know, I think compassion fatigue is not a great term. I think what we're really talking about here is empathy fatigue. And she reminds us that the near enemy of compassion is sorrow or pity. So if we're really coming from a place of empathy leading to pity, that makes us vulnerable, she says, to compassion fatigue. And what I'd like to pick up from what Joan has just said is that I think compassion fatigue really happens when we think it's all up to us. You know, when we look at the suffering of our world, or we look at the suffering in our loved one, or we look at the suffering in our pet, or we look at the suffering, you know, on the newspaper, and we kind of somehow think it's all up to us. We mistakenly believe that we have to hold another's pain, or indeed the world's pain, all on our own. And that's pity, that's sorrow, that's what leads to empathic fatigue. And so I think it can be helpful maybe if we think of compassion as, you know, little compassion, or compassion with a little c. And that's the sort of compassion that we practice as individuals with our empathic connection. And it's valuable and it's precious, but if that is all we have to stand on, and not just to offer, but if that's the only place we can come from, then we are vulnerable to compassion fatigue. Because I think there's another type of compassion, the great compassion. And I just want us to kind of just reflect on this for a minute. That little compassion is the misunderstanding that I have to hold another's pain all on my own. It's all up to me. The great compassion is a sense that, yes, I am doing what I can, and I am being present in the way I can, and I am holding in the way I can, but I'm not on my own in doing this. And, you know, one way of thinking about this is little compassion, holding alone, is like putting a spoon of salt into a glass of water, and it's going to taste very salty. Whereas great compassion, that sense of we compassion, that sense of holding it together, is like taking that spoon of salt and dropping it into this lake and then tasting the lake water and not being able to taste the salt. Because there's that sense of that bigger expanse, that bigger holding. And that is what really makes up the great compassion. And how do we get there? How do we get from the little compassion, the kind of compassion we can practice all on our own, to the great compassion? Well, the great American novelist Henry Miller, I think, gives us a clue. He says, I know what the cure is. It's to give up, to relinquish, to surrender, so that our little hearts can beat in unison with the great heart of the world. And so I want to just kind of lead you in just a 3-minute, 4-minute short practice. And this is a version of what I do every day at the bedside, and what I think has helped keep me sane over the years in working day in, day out with people who are in great suffering. And so I just invite you, this is a short kind of meditation practice, part visualization, part meditation. So I invite you just to look at this image. Here we are among the redwoods, these beautiful redwoods. Heartbreaking to think that the relatives of these redwoods, perhaps these very redwoods, have been burning in Northern California and Southern Oregon. But just imagine you're in this beautiful scene, and there's this bed of soft leaves in front of you. And I want you just for a moment, please, to close your eyes. I invite you to close your eyes and to imagine in your mind's eye that you're in this place among the redwoods, and you're able to let yourself down on the ground, to let yourself down on the earth. So you're stretched with your back on the earth. Imagine opening your eyes and looking up above you and seeing up into the redwoods, up their great trunks, up into the canopy, maybe catching a little glimpse of blue, a little glimpse of sky. And you close your eyes, and as you close your eyes, you allow your awareness to drop down into your body and all the way down to the sensations of contact between your body and the earth, those sensations of firmness and solidity. For just a moment, allow your awareness to rest in those sensations of firmness and solidity. And when you're ready, I invite you to allow your awareness to rise up and fill the whole space of your body. From the crown of your head to the sole of your feet, mindfully aware. And as you're mindfully aware within your body, I invite you to bring your awareness to the center of your chest, the area of your heart. And as you bring your awareness to the area of your heart, I invite you to notice right now whatever pain is in your heart, however you're experiencing this. Notice whatever pain is in your heart, however you're experiencing this. Maybe a hollowness, it may be a heartache, maybe a numbness, You may be aware of no feeling. Whatever you're experiencing, just notice this. And for just a few moments, I invite you to allow yourself to feel what you're feeling. Allow yourself to experience what you're experiencing. When you're ready, I invite you just to let this be, to just let the pain in your heart be just as it is, as you expand your awareness once more within your body. And notice where in your body you're most aware of the sensations of breath, the sensations of the rising breath, sensations of the falling breath. And with the sensations of the rising breath, I invite you to breathe into whatever pain is in your heart, to breathe into the center of your chest, to breathe into the pain in your heart. And with the exhale, with the falling breath, I invite you to loosen your grip on the pain in your heart, and to let go to the exhale, and to let go to gravity, and to allow the flow of the exhale to flow down through your body and through your heart and down to the earth, down to the sensations of firmness, and down into the earth, into the waiting earth, allowing your awareness to drop with the exhale all the way down through your body, washing around your heart, flowing through the pain in your heart, carrying the energy of the pain in your heart down with gravity, down into the waiting earth, down into the waiting earth that receives your pain as energy, that receives your pain as energy. Know that you don't have to hold this pain all on your own. Know that earth is holding this pain with you, is holding you. And allow yourself to be carried in the being heldness of the living earth. So breathing into the pain in your heart with the inhale, and with the exhale, letting go, letting go, letting go, all the way through the exhale, allowing the exhale to flow with gravity down through the heart and flowing through, carrying the energy of your pain with gravity down into the waiting earth that's waiting to receive that energy, which it takes back into the great web of life. And allowing yourself to be carried, allowing yourself to be held by the living earth.
Thank you, Michael. Teddy Macker, would you read us your beautiful poem? I know you read last time, but then there was an interruption. I got so many messages saying, please, can Teddy read this poem one more time? Now we can hear it.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, thank you guys so much for being here, and thank you, Radhule and Michael, for hosting us so helpfully in these times, which are really bewildering. This poem is called Marguerite, and it's inspired by the daughter of Henri Matisse, the great painter. And there are also other inspirations for this poem too. Marguerite. As drone strikes fell from skies and executed children, Mary Oliver did not abandon roses busy being roses. There are always flowers for those who want to see them, Henri Matisse once said, who, near death with intestinal cancer during the Second World War, painted Dancer in a Blue Tutu. A woman with thighs absolute as bodies of tuna fish sits sprawl-legged in a strapless blue tutu on a bench beside a bouquet of purple and yellow flowers. Haiku poet Isa loses his mother early, his stepmother beats him, his first wife dies in childbirth, 4 of his children die in infancy, his house burns down, and still he writes, in the cherry blossoms shade, there's no such thing as a stranger. Marguerite Matisse, Henri's daughter, was tortured by Gestapo, then sentenced to Ravensbrück concentration camp, but escaped when her cattle car stalled out on the tracks. Marguerite, almost waif of history, her father's most frequent model, brown-haired, far from Paris, deranged with clarity, running, ripping through bushes, ducking under leaves, breaths hitching as she kneels by a quiet fence. Marguerite, French word for daisy, running towards a village where no mother sings, no child plays, and 4 hens roost on the lowest branch of a pear tree. Marguerite, run. By God, run. Run uncaught, run undogged, run ungunned, run unyielding whatever the terror. Marguerite, run. Never let go of the flower.
Thank you, Teddy. That was
Thank you, guys.
beautiful. Thank you so much. Amy, may I invite you to come forward? Amy Salzman.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you.
Do you just want me to start talking? We're good.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I joined Radhule and the Sisters of the Balcony last Sunday, and that conversation also touched on the topic of compassion. And at some point, Radhule just asked me for my thoughts, and so I'll share what I shared then, plus 1 additional thought based on what Michael offered earlier. So I think the question on Sunday was, what do I tell children and teenagers and adults when they are struggling with being compassionate with those that they find difficult? And there's a couple things for me. There's a saying about when 1 finger's pointing out, 3 fingers are pointing back. So if I'm judging someone, which for me is generally the opposite of being compassionate for them, I need to look at where the trait that I'm judging that person for lives inside of me. And my easiest example is if I am judging my spouse for being impatient, then when I really look, part of what I see is that I'm being impatient with his impatience. So I am not having space and compassion around whatever's coming up for him. And I don't mean that we necessarily need to tolerate, unkind or rude behavior, but I do think it helps to pause and consider where the behavior's coming from. And then the other thing for me is like the practice that Radhule led, when we get to the difficult people, the people that we find difficult, that we find more challenging to offer compassion to, first of all, I think it's really important that we recognize that this is advanced practice and that sometimes it takes a while to build up to it. And we need to be patient and persistent as we're developing these abilities. And for me, it's often easiest to consider what would this person that I'm having difficulty with, whether it's someone in my family or someone at work or a neighbor next door or a politician, what would the world be like if that person truly felt, as Radhule's prompts were, safe and protected, if they were truly and absolutely healthy in mind, body, heart, and soul? If they were truly experiencing that, it's actually unlikely that they would be behaving in the ways that I find difficult. So for me, it's much easier when I think like that to offer my wishes open-heartedly and with sincerity when I look at it from that perspective. And then that kind of concludes what I said on Sunday, because it was just a comment in the moment. So I don't know that I have a whole lot more to say. I just also wanted to reflect on one thing for me about what Michael said, which was, I think for me, the distinction between little compassion and big compassion is, little compassion for me is somehow when my ego gets involved. And if my ego's involved and if I'm attached to the outcome, or I'm thinking that I'm so great because I'm being compassionate, I think that particular stance is what leads to burnout, when we're over-identified with ourselves. And if I'm in my most spacious heart and I'm kind of not taking my compassions personally, like thinking that it's my compassion, then for me, that's the experience of being in big compassion. And I think that makes me much less likely to be burnt out. So that's what I have to share for now.
Thank you, Amy. And maybe when we have our discussion in the end, we will hear more and we can ask you questions.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being here, and maybe for later, and you can even remember this now. If you have questions, you can either type them in or raise your hand later. But if you have, like, you thought now what Amy said and you have already a question, type it in and then we will look at it a little later. Or a question about what Michael said. So I wanted to welcome Father Tom Carey.
Oh, hi. Let me get my guitar. Move back a little. So this is a is that coming through?
Wonderful.
This is a song called Like a Mountain. Like the mountain that shielded Moses, I look for a place divine
with a gate that never closes, and a seed I can call mine. Such a place is not a promise. Such a place is always real, where the victims, now the victor, and the wounded heart is healed. Brothers, sisters, friends and lovers, all companions on the way, how the race to pass each other has brought us here today. And the past, joyful or painful, now a memory benign. We are gathered at one table, drinking of the love divine. Oh, such sweetness, oh, such wonder, as the moment does unfold, like a sudden clap of thunder, and the lightning bright and bold, and the future has no power, and the past is only how we arrive and fully flower in the blessed eternal now. And the future has no power, and the past is only how we arrive and fully flower in the blessed eternal now.
Thank you, Father Tom. I was wondering, could you tell us what about this song made you want to bring it today, especially? Well, it's a beautiful song, but what it is, and also the other question is with the young adults, the people in Latinx youth you work with, what do you tell them if they have a hard time keeping their hearts open?
Well, the reason I wanted to bring the song is because it's one of the few truly spiritual songs I've written. No, that's not. That's not actually true. I have a few, but it has to do with the last line about living in the now, you know, in the blessed eternal now. And I mean, you know, I don't know where, I mean, I wrote this song in 10 minutes. So they just kind of, they just kind of arise, right? You know, I don't actually have a pat answer for what I tell people that are, I mean, and I don't mean pat in a pejorative way, because everyone's solutions are different. And so, you know, the main thing that everyone needs to know, whether they're old or young, is how beautiful they are. And So, and a lot, especially LGBTQ kids, don't get that message, but how unbearably precious they are. And that is true of me, and it's true of you, and it's true of them. So as long as there's somebody there to say that, you know, but in a way that is specific to that person and not just general. And so, you know, because somebody has a, everybody's problems are very specific, you know, and and sometimes I do not have the specific answer, you know, in fact, often.
You know, as we are living here in Santa Barbara a little bit or maybe a lot in a bubble, as you know, you come here sometimes to visit your sisters. So you see what's going on. What is one of concern that you hear a lot right now from the kids you work with? You would like to tell us about? What are they especially worried about right now?
What's going to happen? You know, it just has to do with the future. What's going to happen? Yeah, that's it. What's going to happen? You know, I mean, it's basically the same. What's going to happen with school? Is school sort of permanently over? You know, what's going to happen with seeing your friends? What's going to happen with being able to go outside? What's going to happen with all of those things that you know, every other generation of people between 1 and 20 have been able to take absolutely for granted. And this generation is now in a here in Los Angeles, and no doubt also in Santa Barbara, is in a smoky environment where there is, you know, where you can get sick. And so, and then the other thing is that kids generally have, you know, one of the beautiful things about kids is their sense of immortality. So you also have to sort of work against that, you know. But what's going to happen if I can't leave the house, can't go outside, can't see anybody?
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. I'm just realizing that, actually I haven't thought about it, but now I'm realizing that we have 3 people here who work a lot with kids. Teddy, you are the director of the Waldorf School, and Amy, you work a lot with teenagers and make mindfulness kind of accessible to them. Is there something you would like to add to this?
Amy, if you have something to say, go for it. I'm still just sort of letting things percolate.
I was percolating too. I mean, perhaps I could share a short practice.
Sure.
So if people will sit, feeling your body in the chair, feeling the breath in the belly. And then simply bringing your attention to whatever you're feeling right now in this moment, the emotion that's present. And perhaps naming the emotion. So some feelings have ordinary names like sad or afraid or angry or excited. And others may have more unusual names like stormy, fiery, bubbly, or empty. So just listening and letting your feeling tell you its name. And then noticing where the feeling actually is in your body. Is it a tightness in your temples? A smile on your face? A warmth in your chest? Or a fluttering in your belly? And then noticing how the feeling actually feels. Is it big or small? Is it light or heavy? Is it cool or warm? Is it still or moving? Just actually noticing the qualities of the feeling in your body. And then perhaps you can notice or imagine if the feeling has a color or colors. And if it doesn't, that's fine. And then listen and imagine if the feeling has a sound. Laughing, weeping, groaning. And whenever you're ready, no rush. Thanking your feeling and returning your attention to the breath. Feeling the breath in the belly. And in your own time, taking 3 slow, deep breaths. And opening your eyes and rejoining the group. And that practice is actually a response to kind of the distress that most of the kids, teens, and adults that I support are feeling. And the intention of the practice is really to support people in what I say, having their feelings, knowing what they're feeling, being aware of the feeling in the body, without their feeling having them, without their feeling overwhelming them, and perhaps having them say or do something that they might regret. So when we can bring our kind and compassionate attention to our feelings, we can kind of make space around our experience, and then we're not reacting out of unaddressed feelings. And I think a lot of people right now are experiencing very intense feelings. And just to transfer to Teddy, often when I teach, I'll then have, after the practice, I'll either let people draw or write a haiku. And in this case, I'm not super particular about like the 5-7-5. Really, I just define a haiku as what can be said in a breath. So like one boy's haiku was excited, golden, ticklish. That was his whole haiku, but it just gives them a way to befriend their feelings. So with that, I'll give it to the poet.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. I can just say that at our school, we have the kids back on campus. We're the, I don't know, one of only a few in the county with the children back on campus. We have a protocol that we have to heed, but it's been really medicinal to see the children together on campus. And I feel like the challenge that we're facing is how do we deal with all the adult dramas? But the children, thank God, and I don't want to generalize reductively, but the children in general seem to be really ready for being together, ready for play, ready for singing, ready for hearing a story. And we were, as administrators, worried they were gonna come in and be really squirrely. And I know that some are holding squirreliness, no doubt, but in general, they seem to be really thriving. But the challenge is, how do we deal with kind of like balkanization that's happening because of COVID? There are people who are very concerned about it. There are people who are not so concerned. There are people like me who are kind of ambivalent and of many minds about it. So that's been an exciting journey. I know that for my daughters, I had 2 young daughters, and the youngest definitely was really suffering because of what befell us societally. It really unseated her. She's 5, and she had a few months where she was needier in a way that my wife and I had never seen before. And it was very, very heart-wrenching for me and my wife. And she seems to, thank God, she seems to have passed through that really intense sort of trauma state she was in. And now she's never been more sort of at ease in her skin. So that's been really inspiring. But it's a really tough, bewildering time. And for me, I've been really trying to enact this idea that I read in a book by Charles Eisenstein. I don't know if you guys are familiar with his work. He talks about how one of the great challenges for us right now is to try to move beyond what he calls language of separation. And he sees it in almost all political language these days, whether it's political language on the right or political language on the left. And that we're so unconsciously at the mercy of this language of separation that it's really making things needlessly anguished and needlessly polarized. So that's been a kind of koan for me. What new language are we being asked to use right now? Maybe the languages of the past politically aren't just adding up anymore. Anyways, those are my humble 2 cents. They were kind of rambling, but I appreciate the opportunity to share with you guys.
Thank you, Teddy. Maybe I'll share a cent or two, which is I see in my practice quite a few parents, but also young adults, older teenagers and young adults, and maybe let's say from 17 to let's say 25 or so. And this is the group I talk about, even though I see people all ages. And what I'm encountering is a great sense of, I might even call it like an existential crisis. A sense of meaninglessness. What is this world I'm joining? What is my place in it, and why even try? Kids are aware of the climate crisis. And the social crisis, and it seems to be maybe harder than ever. Maybe it reminds me the time when I was young in Germany in the 70s, after the Second World War, where there was this real question. I remember we had it, why? What is this? Do we even want to join the society? And that's what I see, and what we sometimes talk about is a little bit the maybe one way of giving meaning is to be helpful. For example, I see one young man who was diagnosed with possible um, hallucinations and maybe, major mental disorder, helping another kid now who's much sicker than him and finding meaning through that. And so I find, that's maybe something I would like encourage more to do. We don't know the outcome. We don't know what's happening. We don't know what the adults are brewing up and going to do. But maybe like Sisyphus rolling the stone up the hill, there can be some meaning in what we might call the bodhisattva path, in being helpful to another. And isn't that Viktor Frankl who said, who has a why can deal with any how? So maybe this is my sense, but maybe it would be wonderful to hear from participants. Let me see if there are, does anybody see if is there anybody who would like to speak up, or are there chats?
Diana,
Oh yeah.
can you unmute? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Hi. My name's Diana. I work with Wilderness Youth Project, and so much of this stuff tonight was just me nodding my head like, yes, yes. And all these layers that come right now are so difficult, seeing them in the kids and experiencing them in myself. And there were challenges that I've had in the past years, and I worked through them, like getting onto a level with the kids. Mostly the teenagers are the ones that have a different level than me that I have to meet them at. And but now there's this added layer of the whole pandemic and what we have to do in order to run our programs, for them to be allowed, guidelines and protocols for public health. And I've been experiencing that as a whole new challenge, and it's still something I'm not figuring out really. But I know that the one feeling that comes with it is that I feel inadequate to get to that next level. But and I'm like, well, if I can't do this safely with them, then we can't continue the programs. But then, like, to me, that also feels like a giving up, sort of, because I want them in these programs so bad, and these are the ones I see who need these programs, being outside in nature and experiencing all that. But I'm still trying to navigate how to get into this new level of the pandemic and what that changes in all of our work that's so important. But I mean, I just find little moments where the things come out, and definitely being outside for them just is a release. But the hard part is, I can picture things working for them, but it's just getting them to a spot to hear it first. And I was just re-inspired hearing all these things about like those little guided meditations or just little bits of walkthroughs to bring their minds together. And besides our regular practice of always sharing gratitude whenever we meet, that's always a good, helpful thing. But I got some inspiration from you all, but I still have all these struggles. And so if there's any other things you all could share, I'm listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. I was wondering if any of the speakers would like to say something to Diana about your struggle, about feeling, is it you don't feel quite overwhelmed by the task?
I feel inadequate sometimes. Like I know I can do this work. I've been doing it, but then there's moments where I'm just like, wait, am I going to be able to break through? And I'm thinking about what is it in me that I do need to break through in order to get there with them too.
Well, I have one tiny little cent to add to this, which is what often happens when I feel I'm inadequate, and I often feel that, you know, who am I to even try to fix this one or to help, or this is too much. And I think Amy was talking about this a little bit. Then I try to get out of the small self and feel it's not, and I think Michael talked about this actually wonderfully, to feel I'm not alone trying to fix this. And sometimes one of the tricks I use is I imagine the image of the Dalai Lama or some, you know, because I travel there a lot, so I know him well, you know, so that helps to just feel, okay, can I just access a bigger flow so it's not all up to me. But I was wondering what others like Michael or Amy or Teddy or Tom.
Yeah, I have a cent to contribute. So I think for me, sometimes my feeling of inadequacy comes often from like an attachment to an outcome, like knowing that they got it. Like I want to, you know, I teach mindfulness to youth because I want them to get the benefits, right? And so, but then I can get kind of tangled up in that. And if I can just be in that moment and do the best I can, and then also realize that, like, you know, I offer what I offer, but then they receive what they receive. And I usually think of it about like planting seeds. So the truth is, when we plant seeds, not all seeds sprout, and not all seeds sprout in a particular season. And so you might have planted beautiful seeds with your youth, but they're gonna bloom, you know, next year or the year after, or, you know, your seeds are gonna get watered by Harrison and then they're gonna bloom. And so I think then, I don't know, it's this thing of the being the bigger, like it takes the pressure off. Like just you offer what you can offer with as much skill as you can offer it on a given day. And the outcome's kind of not up to us.
Thank you.
And just to add, if I could add something, and you know, in response to you, Diana, but building on what Amy has just shared, you know, I remember expressing feelings a little bit like you've just expressed once to somebody I was sitting with, and we're actually at a workshop with Joanna Macy when this happened, and the person said to me, you know, he knew I was Irish, he knew I kind of came from an Irish Catholic background, and he said, you know, even though you're kind of now interested in Buddhism and you're interested in, you know, nature connection and other kind of paths, spiritual paths, he said, you're still kind of coming from a sort of Catholic unconscious. And what he meant by that was the idea that somehow it's up to you to save the world, that there's kind of one savior, you know. And you know, the difference between that and the Bodhisattva, you know, where the Bodhisattva is one of trillions who is doing this work and doing the little piece of work that she or he can do, that no one else can do, but that she or he can do. And like Amy said, it's not about the outcome. The outcome may be in another lifetime. And so it's more about the intention and more about the sense that you're a small part of something much bigger that's offering this work, and kind of trusting that, you know, I mean, you working with the earth, working with nature, you know, that you're there as an ambassador, you know, but you know, it's not all up to you. So there's maybe some relief in that.
Anybody else liking to add something to this?
I was just going to comment and say that I can really resonate with what Diana has said. And my thought as an art teacher in the public school district is that oftentimes I'm battling where our society places value, at least in the public schools. And so sometimes I'm battling for art to be in the mandatory area of teaching. And it's so important for our students. I mean, right now tonight we're doing art and music and mindfulness and meditation. So all these components that are so healing and so important. And in the daytime, struggling to have space for those subjects in school it's a bit of a battle. So I really appreciate hearing that, you know, even a little seed planted can bloom. And I resonate with you, what you're saying, Diana. And I just wanted to say that my students love your program, and it's so important. And it must be frustrating to have it be a little bit on the back burner now. But just know that your work is really resonating, and I can't wait till your programs are back.
Thank you.
Harrison, do you want to say something? Because you're heading the mindfulness school program. And
right, I'm the co-director of the Kind Mind mindfulness school program. And you know, we just got back into school this week after not being with the students since early March. And and for a while there at the end of the year, we were making videos to teach mindfulness to the youth at the end of last year, but really didn't have any contact with the students at that time. We weren't even able to Zoom with them because Zoom was so precious for other subjects. So we just started this week, and actually today was my first time being with the students on Zoom. And it was a joy to be back with them. And it was also, you know, being on Zoom, it's not quite as gratifying as being in person with them. But it was very nice to be back with them, even on Zoom. And we talked a little bit about what is troubling them. It was our first day, so we were just kind of introducing ourselves and getting to know them. And I just shared that I was feeling worried myself lately, that mindfulness is something that I use to help me when life is hard, and also mindfulness is something that I do to enjoy life more when life is easy. And so that's kind of my pitch to the to the kids, why mindfulness is good. It helps us enjoy life when it's easy, and it helps us when it's hard. And you know, I was able to kind of ask them, you know, I first of all, I said I'm there to teach mindfulness because it's been the single most important thing I've ever learned in my life. And I gave an example of how I'm still learning, still practicing. And the past couple of days, I've been worried about the fires, worried about my home burning down, or the smoke in the air, how unhealthy that is, or the future, how much worse all these fires are going to get. It's going to get worse before it gets better. And I asked the students, who else is feeling worried about the fires? And, you know, some of these kids were third grade, you know, and they're hearing about the fires and they're all giving the thumbs up. They're worried about the fires too. They see the smoke in the air. So anyway, I shared about how the loving kindness practice towards myself and all the others who were worried about the fires, how that helped me in over the past couple days. Just sending kind wishes to myself and all the other people who are affected by the fires and worried by the fires. Yeah, I think that's my experience right now with the students is kind of over Zoom, and we're able to lift our show thumbs up or thumbs down if we to communicate or raise our hands. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to have a group discussion. But this is the world we live in, this Zoom world right now. And we're doing the best we can to figure it out and be there for the students. And I'm, just hopeful that we're going to be able to contribute to them in learning mindfulness and compassion and nature connections. And I'm really grateful for all the speakers and everything that they had to say tonight. It was inspirational to me. And like Dr. Amy saying about how, these we plant the seeds as best we can, and then we trust, as Michael said, we trust that nature and how these seeds may sprout at another time and another season. And so anyway, it's really, actually, it was very helpful to hear what other people are seeing in terms of what these young people are struggling with right now, and what what Father Tom said about how they just seem to be worried about the future and about everything, how everything's going to turn out in the future. And I find that is true for me as well. So thank you all for your wise words. I learned this has been really one of the best, most impactful solidarity and compassion gatherings that I can remember. And I was taking notes like crazy, and I just learned so much from all of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Harrison. I wanted to say that Jolie sent a little message in, and she quoted Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron, who says the key instruction is to stay present. Don't get caught up in the hopes of you will achieve and how your situation will be someday in the future. What you do right now is what matters. And it's very hard. I think part of us can do this, and part of us is human and worries. But we can encourage each other to be present. And one way of being present is, in our sanghas, Mondays and Wednesdays and Sunday mornings. And so I was just wondering if there were others who would like to add anything. And there's one request of Father Tom to sing again the last. Amy asked if you could sing the last verse of your song with the future, the thing, and the present. Sure. In the end. Yeah. But I was first wondering if there's anybody else who would like to add anything.
Well, I'm Lynn.
Yeah.
And hi. I've attended a few, more and more, enjoying it very much, Radley. And I just want to, when Diana was talking about inadequacy and the fear comes to me with that word, inadequacy. And I really appreciated hearing about the ego being present around the idea of compassion, the little c. But because, I can do it all. I'm really, really excellent at this, and I can do it all. that made a lot of sense. But I just want to say that what really stuck with me about the inadequacy and the feedback on that was being present and the simplicity of just, because I can be right there in, you know, feeling inadequate, you know, my expectations, my result, and but what others brought to the conversation just brought me to being present, just being present, being calm, and that's all that's needed. That's all that's needed. Those seeds are sown, as you were saying. So just wanted to pipe up, and I feel more present just being, you know, hearing these words.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you very much. So I was wondering if anybody else would like to share something. Otherwise, maybe we could come to a close. I was actually thinking, I don't know if some of you know this wonderful monastery in Big Sur, the New Camaldoli Monastery. It's a Benedictine monastery, and when I was up there, I go up there to write, you know, I'm finishing this writing piece, and Father Cyprian, who is the abbot there, he asked me if I could translate this poem for him from Rilke. And so last night I was sitting down and translating, and I just loved this poem. And so I thought I might just want to read this to you, at least my little humble translation, which I think he wants to make into a song. It says, and it's a poem to the sacred, to God, the field of awareness, the great mystery, whatever it is for us. Only in doing can we grasp you. Only with our hands can we illuminate you. Each of our senses is just a mere guest, longing to leave this world. Each of our senses fabricates itself. One feels the delicate hem woven by someone. But then you come and give yourself just when we are ready to escape. I don't want to know where you are. Speak to me from everywhere. Your willing follower remembers everything and forgets to look from where it comes. When I walk towards you, it is with all my heart, with my entire life. And
oh, I have to have that. That is stupendous.
Email me radhule@gmail.com, and maybe I'll send it out with the next newsletter. Yeah, I hope I translated it right. I will hear what Joanna Macy has to say. I send it to her and Father Cyprian, but I really got into it as I was translating. I thought it's a marvelous poem. And Father Tom, can we hear that last? Can you say again what it says?
Yes. It is I'm forgetting the words.
The future has no power.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the future has no power. The past is only how we arise and fully flower in the blessed eternal now.
Blessed eternal now.
Yeah, so you
one more time for.
So now you see, you guys are going to know the words, so you have to sing along.
Okay.
So everybody unmute now.
Okay.
It's the future has no power. The past is only how we arise and fully flower in the blessed eternal now. What a genius!
And you made
So,
that, right?
ready?
Yeah.
So, and the future has no power, and the past is only how we arise and fully flower in the blessed eternal now. One more time. And the future has no power, and the past is only how we arise and fully flower in the blessed eternal now.
Theme song.
Thank you.
Theme song.
Thank you so much.
Um,
And thank you also for Miyoko and Danjo-san. And I was wondering, is everybody done singing or do you want to do more singing? Danjo-san, do you want to do one song just for the ones who still want to sing? Maybe he is not there right now. He's behind the moon, with the moon. Well, it was a wonderful evening. And thank you so much, everybody. And it was just really great. And you know, next month we will have again our solidarity and compassion in October. And I asked Rabbi Cohen from the temple and Vajra Prana, and I will ask a few others. And it would be great to have, especially before the election, a real interfaith kind of thing. And I don't know, you probably are very busy, Father Tom, but we'll talk. And it just will be great to have as many spiritual paths coming together as possible, and because we have to kind of bridge these gulfs between us, and that's one place where we can start, because the great mystery is just one, right? And life is just one, and the presence is just now.
Thank you very much.
Oh, Daniel-san, there you are. I was
Yeah.
wondering if this was a photo of yours or if this is actually yours.
Yeah, we are the same planet.
Ah, same planet, right.
Yeah, we are all family.
Right.
Cannot go outside this planet. Our mother.
Yes.
We're all sheltering in place on this planet.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining. And
thank you,
please
everyone.
stay tuned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
So beautiful. Thank you.
Very helpful.
Thank you.
Sleep
Beautiful
well.
evening. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Bye.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.
南條先生、ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございます。
Namaste.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Sukan
Thank you
Dando.
very much.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Everybody.
Thank you, Teddy. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Harrison.
Thank you,
Bye.
Teddy. Thank you, Danjo.
Bye.
Thank you,
Love you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Harrison.
Hello.
Thank you, everybody. Let's do it again. Thank you, Jolie. Thank you, Linda.
Yes, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Oh, bye, Ram. Thank you for being the master mind in the back. I can't hear you. You have to unmute
Was
yourself.
the sound okay? Sound okay?
Oh, it was great.
Okay, great. Wonderful.
I didn't think you would be still here.
No, I didn't want to leave in case you wanted to call us back or something. All right, bye-bye. Good night.